Hello there, and thank you so much for tuning in again on my second episode of Adventures and More. I want to start this off by saying thank you. I did not expect that many people to actually listen to my podcast and spend 20 minutes of their day and time to listen to me and then texting me and giving me such lovely feedback, which honestly meant the world to me. I cannot put it into words how flattered and overwhelmed I was, and still am, to be fair. I got such cool feedback. One of the funnier ones that I've gotten actually from 2 or 3 people that said that I really have a calming voice. And one of my friends actually suggested that I do like a sleep podcast, and yeah, maybe I'll do that in the future as like just a side episode or something that I'd release. Cause yeah, why not? If I have that sort of influence on people that I have a calming voice and it'll help them to fall asleep, that might be something cool to do. Not gonna lie. I would even consider adding like calming music and go full on out on that one, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, it was quite clear to me after my voting on my Instagram story that people wanted to hear about my time in England. I had 4 topics that I let you guys choose from. Obviously, the biggest one with 12 votes actually was time in England. Got 6 votes on cosplay, history, and cons, which I will shortly talk about in this episode as well. I've got 4 votes on favorite movie and TV series, which I'll probably do next week. Depends actually, because I thought I'd start by talking about the previous series, WandaVision. Talk about that a bit, because my god, that was an awesome series, and at the same time started off with a new series that is coming out next Friday, which is The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I might start with that towards weekend next week or the week after. I don't know yet, because I don't want to like spoil a day after or anything. So I might give it a few days and then talk about my feelings about it, how I felt watching it, and any Easter eggs and stuff that I noticed, because I usually watch them with my best friend. When they come out, we talk a lot about it, and afterwards I will watch it with a different friend and just geek out about it. So it's really fun, and I'll always notice stuff when I watch it like once or twice. So yeah, that'll definitely be a thing. And the least votes I've got, which was 3 votes on meeting celebrities. I will still at one point talk about it, because I have some really cool and memorable experiences with celebrities. Some that were really positive and meant a lot to me, and 1 or 2 that were not only disappointing but rather gross, and yeah, really disappointing, not gonna lie. But I'll definitely talk about that at some point. So yeah, let's jump into it, because everyone wanted to hear me talk about what I've experienced during my time in England. So to start us off, I moved to Norwich in the UK on the 2nd of September in 2017. And I stayed there till the 29th of June in 2019. So I'll talk a bit about how I even got there until the end of it. The end of the journey, basically, me moving back. So during my apprenticeship, which I did as a confectioner from the years of 2011 to 2014 to 2017, there you go. I got the opportunity, because our class also studied English, to be a part of a project that I've never done. It was supposed to be a 1-month trip, 2 weeks of school and 2 weeks of work experience. My English at the time was already quite good, so I wasn't really that interested into it, because we had to pay 1,000 Swiss francs during our apprenticeship. That is quite a lot of money. We had to give up 2 weeks of unpaid holidays and 2 weeks of holidays. So for me, that was just a waste of everything, considering that I already was able to speak English, and I did not see a point of going to England to then be in school for 2 weeks and work for 2 weeks, and having to use 2 weeks of holidays and a bit less of salary and having to pay that much money. But in the end, my boss convinced me, and pretty much not just convinced me, but just told me, you have to go. So I didn't really get a choice that much. And in the end, I am so glad that I actually went. So yeah, we went there. We had 2 weeks of school, which wasn't really that interesting, not gonna lie. It was pretty basic stuff because since everyone in our group, we were 8 of us. I don't want to sound mean, but the standard was pretty low. So for 2 or 3 people in the group, those 2 weeks weren't really that eventful, and we didn't really learn that much from it. But we just always went out after school. We went for cool lunch breaks, got to see quite a bit of Norwich. We went to London on one occasion as well. So that was really cool. But other than that, the 2 weeks just went flying. Also, I have to add that was during my last year of my apprenticeship, and I also lost time studying for my finals. But yeah, didn't really study all that much anyways. So the 2 weeks of school went by, and because out of 6 out of 8 people, they were all bakers, and there were only 2 of us, 2 girls, that were confectioners. And they put everyone into bakeries. And I told them, I do not want to bake bread. I am not a fan of baking bread at all. I don't like to do it. I can't do it. I'm really bad at it. So they got me to go to a hotel. Turned out it was the Maid's Head Hotel, which is the oldest hotel in the UK. I was really nervous because I did not know what was gonna happen. Obviously, being in a restaurant, it was a restaurant, but also a hotel. So it was really interesting of an experience because I got to see functions, I got to do afternoon teas, I got to do evening service. I literally got to see so much during those 2 weeks. And the people there were just absolutely amazing to me. It was so much fun, so many laughters, and the last day that we worked in the kitchen, because it was me and another friend in that hotel, we all decided to go out to the pub after work, and there was, I think there still is, to be fair, there's a Wetherspoons pub literally next door, and we all decided to go there for a pint to just celebrate and say goodbye to everyone. And I was beyond amazed and overwhelmed at how many people actually came out and just had a good time, just drinking and having fun. A lot of people left, but I think about 4 of us were out, I think, till at least like 1 or 2 a.m. And it was such a blast. We had such a good time. And it was kind of at that moment where I realized how much fun work could be. And because in Switzerland, where I did my apprenticeship, don't get me wrong, there were lovely people there, but never ever would I have gone out with like people from work for a pint or something, except for the other apprentices, or 1 or 2 exceptions from people that I really like their work. But it was a foreign thing. It was really, that's not a thing that you do, and I know a lot of places in Switzerland are that way. And to see something like that people just go out and have fun after work, no matter if you had a shitty shift or you had the biggest blast, it was just fun and banters after work. As soon as you left, you just get along. And that amazed me. I knew at that moment that was something really, really special, and I really felt at home. So when I had to go back after that monthly project, I cried. Holy crap. I remember because a friend and I, we lived on the same street. We were with host families, so it was so emotional. We got into the taxi, and oh my god, when we arrived at the train station, everyone was tired because I think it was like 5 or 6 a.m. But only me and my friend, we were the only ones that literally were crying for like the first hour because we did not want to go back. And just to top this off, right? So about a few months before the trip, I really started to get into cosplay, which I mentioned in the previous episode. I got to know cosplay and everything. And as soon as we arrived in London City, my friend and I, who really liked dressing up, and we even brought costumes for Halloween because we did that project in, oh god, when was that project? October 2016, I think. It was MCM Comic Con time, and we arrived at the train station in London City, and everyone was dressed up. And I just started to cry again, because that just gave me more of a reason to not wanting to go back to Switzerland. I did not want to finish my apprenticeship. I literally wanted to just throw it all away and stay in the UK instead. I did not want to go back at all. But obviously I had to. It was so hard to come back, and after that I really felt really bummed. I felt kind of empty as well. And I knew that as soon as I finished my apprenticeship, I wanted to go back. I did not care if it was for a holiday, for a month, for a year. I just knew I had to go back. So the day came that I got my results from my apprenticeship and I passed, which was quite the relief because I had quite a struggle getting through my last year. Well, through my apprenticeship in general, but the last year was really, really tough on me. For several reasons, personal reasons. I was mentally not really in a good spot, unfortunately, and being in England got me the chance of just turning it off for a month and feeling happy and everything again. So when I came back, all the emotions came back even stronger. But anyways, coming back to the subject, yeah, I remember my parents went on a motorbike road trip to, I think, Romania. So I was home alone. I knew I wanted to go back to the UK, so I messaged the head chef from the kitchen from the hotel, and he told me that at the time they did not have a job available. So then I went on to find a au pair family, and the plan was to just stay with a family for between half a year and a year, stay with them, look after their kids, and in the spare time I'd go to a English school so I could eventually do a Cambridge exam because I wanted to do the proficiency exam eventually. But as soon as I found my family, and I remember Skyping with them and being super excited, I booked my flight. It was all settled for the 2nd of September, one-way ticket, and roughly about 2 weeks before the trip, I got, and I kid you not, and I still love this story and I love to tell it, I got a Snapchat from one of the chefs. He was a sous chef at the time from the hotel. I kid you not, I opened that Snapchat and it's him asking me if I still want a job. I was more than confused. I texted him back, yeah, sure, but what happened? What's going on? And he told me that one of the chefs quit and they had an opening and I could have the job if I wanted to. Me freaking out completely. I lost it. I really lost it because there I was having 2 weeks to decide and to make such a major decision for my life. My parents being in a different country. I was home alone freaking out, so I called them. They were more than excited, told me, well, in the end it's my decision, but obviously having a job is pretty much the best decision and best thing that could happen to you. So I had to make the tough choice, and I called up that family, I think even on the same day, explaining to them what was happening basically, and that I got this amazing job offer. They were the loveliest couple. They literally told me, go for it. You do not get an offer like this and an opportunity like this every day, so do it, otherwise you will regret it. So there I was, getting my job through Snapchat. Only problem was, since I had the flight booked, I think I arrived at like 11 in the evening in London Heathrow. So at that time there weren't any options to reschedule the flights or anything. And that chef asked me when I could start. And I said, well, I arrive in London on the 2nd, but I guess I need a day or two to come to Norwich, settle down, and then I can start. So we settled, I think, for the 4th or 5th. I'm not sure anymore. But it was only like 2 or 3 days after I arrived. So my parents were kind enough to pay me a cab from London Heathrow all the way to Norwich, which I think was like a 3 or 4 hour trip. And I was so tired. I luckily found a shared apartment, like 1.5 weeks beforehand. And it was so hard to find one as well, because everyone wanted me to be there and to actually see it so they could get to know me. And that place that I actually got the place from was the only guy that told me, yeah, you're fine, here you go. You've got the contract and everything. And he didn't need to see me or anything. So I was on my way to Norwich. I was so freaking nervous about my new life start. Like, I knew the few people from work that I've met 2 weeks, almost a year ago. So it was really nerve-wracking for me, and the cab drive was not really that great, because it was just, the guy loved to listen to his music, and I think it was the same like 6 songs that he played throughout the whole drive. And I just could not be asked to say anything, so I just listened to the same 6 songs for like 3 or 4 hours. Because I just didn't dare. I was nervous, I was shy, I used to be such an introvert. To be fair, to this day I still am in some points, in some regards, but I definitely grown out of my shell a lot. Otherwise I would not be able to do this podcast. But yeah, so I arrived in Norwich. The first night, unfortunately, I had to spend in a hotel because it was just way too late. Because I think I arrived at 2 or 3 a.m. So I literally got to the hotel and instantly went to bed. And in the next morning, I took another cab to that address, and I lived on the 1st floor. So I had 2 big luggages and a small one, and I had to get that upstairs. And my god, that was a freaking struggle. But I managed it. I got settled down, went into town to just see Norwich again. I felt at home. I cannot describe this, but I just felt so welcome in Norwich. And probably a lot of people from the UK will tell me what the hell, but I love the people there. Like, the whole mentality, how open the people are, how kind they are. Like, when you walk in a store, they just greet you and talk to you, and you don't really get that too much here in Switzerland. And like, of course there's exceptions, but in Switzerland I feel like it's a lot more money driven, and you can really see that in the attitude of the people. They can be really arrogant in some regards. So I never really felt that at home or that accepted here in Switzerland, because adding to my list of trauma, I guess, I always used to be bullied. I was always the one person that had to be bullied in school, so I did not have a good time in school and everything. So I guess that just adds on to the reasons why I never really felt at home in Switzerland. Like, don't get me wrong, I love my family and friends that I have here, and they mean the world to me, but that was the only thing that kept me here in Switzerland and that kept me happy. But the place on itself, it just did not feel right. So as soon as I got into Norwich, it felt good, it felt natural, it felt like I was home. So when I started there, I had a plan of staying there for a year maximum, and then move back, do the proficiency exam and then come back. That was literally my plan. Did not work out like that. So I started there as a pastry chef, and the guy that used to work on or worked at the pastry section at the time, he was a character. So let's go through it. So you have the head chef, who was always really kind. Like, he was a kind and gentle soul. We had the guy that Snapchatted me, the sous chef, who really was kind of like a brotherly figure during my time there. He left the hotel about, I think, a year after I moved there. And then the junior sous chef became the sous chef. And the junior sous chef was the guy that worked on pastry. And I really love him now. But we really got off on the wrong foot, because he did not like me. I could not do anything right. To be fair, I did make a lot of mistakes in the beginning. I was nervous. It was a whole new field of work for me, because imagine I always made cake and pastries, and all of a sudden I had to do functions. I had to do plated desserts. It was completely different from what I studied. So that was a big change. I somehow managed, and eventually he accepted me, and we later on got along more and more. It was fun. Like, in the end, he kind of became a brother to me as well, which is another really sweet thing. Like, I remember, I'm looking at the card that I just got that my dear friend Susan drew for me as a leaving gift, and everyone from the mate had signed it for me. And I remember he wrote something down as in "my annoying little sister," and I still keep that in my mind because it really means a lot to me. And again, it just shows how amazing the people over there were and still are. Makes me miss it right now even more. But yeah, so I started working there. It was nice. It was a lot of learning. It was really stressful. Christmas was coming around. It was really, really busy. Yeah, it was nuts, because we had so many functions every day. I was not used to it. I usually worked the hours from like 12 till roughly about 10:30 to 11, and most of the days I did not take a break, because it was just, I was in such a rush, or just did not feel like it, to be fair. So I just prefer to work through it. But it was amazing. Like, despite the fact that it was stressful and everything, I loved every single day. Like, it was a challenge. It was just fun. Every day there was something new. I was in charge of pretty much the whole section at some point, where I had to order the stuff, redo them. Obviously, I still had the people looking after me and checking everything, but it was really nice to be sort of in charge of things a little bit more than what I was used during my apprenticeship. I think it was in October, actually, that my best friend Dario, he came to visit me. He was the first friend from Switzerland that came and visit me. We actually... Oh yeah, we met in London, actually, because we went to see a show from our favorite YouTubers. It was cool. It was a really fun thing, because it was my favorite YouTuber, which is Jacksepticeye, and at the time his favorite YouTubers, which are the Great Game Grumps. And it just so happens that they were on a tour. I don't know if it was just a UK tour, or if it was like UK and United States. But it was really cool, because it was in London, it was affordable. So we thought to ourselves, yeah, why the heck not? Because I did not want to pass on the opportunity of meeting my favorite YouTuber that I've literally watched for years. I think at that time I've watched him for like 4 to 5 years already, and I still do to this day. He's still my favorite YouTuber. Like, I love all of his content. But anyway, so we met there. It was really fun. We had, I think it was a whole weekend that we spent together. We went to Madame Tussauds. We went to the show in the evening, and we saw quite a lot of cool things. It was a really nice time. Oh yeah, I think we also went to, because Madame Tussauds is right around the corner of Baker Street. So I got to see 221B Baker Street. At the time, I did not really know anything about Sherlock. I recently just watched all of the seasons during lockdown. And I really, really loved it. It was so fun. So if I ever go back, I will definitely enjoy it even more so. But it was really fun. So that was the first thing that I did. And soon enough, it was my 20th birthday. It was really fun because I worked on the 10th of December, and I asked a few people from work if they wanted to go out for a drink after work. And sure enough, about I think like 4 or 5 people actually agreed. And I was so excited because at that time I lived there for like 2 or 3 months, and people already decided that they want to spend my birthday with me. It made me feel not alone and even more accepted, and it was the funniest time. Like, British people, they can drink. I gotta leave that to them. They can drink a lot. So it was really fun. And I remember when it came around to midnight, to my actual birthday on the 11th, one of my co-workers asked me to get some shots. So we went to the bar, got some shots, and when we came back, there were my other friends in the booth with a chocolate birthday cake and some candles lit. There's a photo of me, and I smile so much in that photo because I could not believe that people that barely knew me would go to those lengths to do something like that. I was shook. It meant the whole world to me, and it was such a fun night out. The only downside was that I was so wasted. I wasn't that wasted, but I was drunk a bit. I somehow managed to get a cab home. I think it was 3 in the morning that I got home, and at 4 a.m. I had to get up again because I had to get a taxi to London because my mum and 2 of her friends came over for my birthday celebrations. So that was a task. That was the first time that I was actually hungover. I remember, I think I called my dad. Either I called him or I left him a voice memo saying like, "Oh Dad, yeah, I'm sorry if I sound wasted, because I am." It was such a mess, and I felt terrible during that coach ride. Not gonna lie, it was not fun. But that I really hold that memory dear, because it was a fun weekend afterwards. We went to see, or they took me to see Aladdin. Aladdin. How do you say it in English? I don't even know. Aladdin. Yeah, let's go with that one. And it was such a cool show. It was, I think, one of my first Broadway shows that I actually saw. No, I actually went to see Beauty and the Beast a few years prior, but that was the only one, and that was here in Switzerland still. So that was a really fun experience. So yeah, that happened. I really have to backtrack actually, because I forgot something quite big. What happened was, since I moved there in the beginning of September, when I went to the mall on one of my days off, I actually saw a sign or an advert of a small convention happening in Norwich. Norcon, it was called. And I was blown away that small town actually had its own Comic-Con. Because here in Switzerland, there's a few. I have to say, like, over the years, the cosplay community here has grown a lot, and there's a lot more stuff than a few years back. So that is really, really cool. So I was really excited, and I actually got one day off because I requested it, because it was on a weekend, and weekends are always busy. But I managed to get one day off, which was really exciting. So there I was, on my way to my first UK convention. I think I did dress up as Harley Quinn actually, because that was the only proper cosplay that I had at the time. I only ever had female Negan and Harley Quinn, so I thought I'd go as Harley Quinn. And it was really nerve-wracking, because again, I did not know anyone there. And when I got inside, I walked around. It was a rather small convention. Like, it was really, really tiny. But there were so many cool cosplayers. I was really blown away by that. There was a desk in front of the stage where people could sign up for the cosplay competition. I thought to myself, why the heck not? The funny story was, there was a Star-Lord cosplayer. His name is Michael. He's a dear friend of mine now. I loved his Star-Lord cosplay. He had a small Groot on his shoulders as well. And he was the first guy that I took a photo with at the convention. And he was by that desk. So when I went over there, I saw what the hell was happening, and we both signed up. even though we were both absolutely stage frightened. It was really funny. So we got acquainted, we took pictures together, and we just started to walk around the convention, got to know each other, took some cool pictures with other people as well. Yeah, in the end we literally spent the whole day together, and by the afternoon, I don't remember, just some point in the afternoon, it was time for the competition. So I was first one out of the two of us to go on stage. And you didn't really have to do anything. You just walk up, there was a guy on stage with a microphone, and he just asked you a few questions, like who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing that character, and stuff like that. And I was nervous. My English wasn't really... It was good, but I still struggled a little bit with like British accents at that time. So I was really scared that I wouldn't understand what he was saying, but I managed. I was really happy, and I was so proud of myself for accomplishing that. And after that, my friend went on stage, Michael went on stage, and he was so scared, but he did well. And it was really funny because afterwards, to this day, he still says he's never doing that again. In the meantime, I have done it a few times more, but it was a really fun experience. And to kind of go on a little different story as well, there were some really cool Disney princesses there, and I took pictures of and with them. It was really funny because about half a year later, MCM Comic Con, there was a Disney meetup, and I recognized the Ariel cosplayer. Like, she really seemed, her face seemed really, really familiar to me, but she was in a different cosplay. I think we even got a picture. Well, we got a group shot anyway, but I do think we talked to each other because I really loved her Ariel cosplay. And then half a year later again at the Norwich Comic Con, so the second one, I saw her again, and there I did realize, like, oh, I do think I've seen you before, but again, we didn't really know each other. Basically, later on, there's a Disney store in Norwich, and I pretty much lived there. Every time I had a day off, I went there, and I usually bought something. And one day in particular, so I always got, like, there was always this one girl that I always saw at the store working there. She was so pretty, and one day I bought Lumiere, the chandelier from Beauty and the Beast, because I thought it would be perfect for my Belle cosplay that at the time I had. And I told her that. I was like, oh yeah, it's a great addition to my Belle cosplay. And she said, oh well, you cosplay? Oh, that's so cool. So on my bill, she wrote down her Instagram tag. And later on, I did follow her. I looked through her pictures, and funny enough, I realized that I've actually met her throughout like the course of over a year. Without actually knowing it was her. We talked in the store a lot, and we never really realized that we actually had a couple pictures together, and we've actually met over the course of a year multiple times without realizing who we were. Yeah, and out of that grew one of my biggest friendships that I have to this day. Like, she means so much to me, and it's always fun because we did a lot of cool things together. I recently posted a picture of us. We did a Once Upon a Time photo shoot a few weeks before I moved back to Switzerland, so that was really cool as well. Yeah, we did a lot of cool things in general. It was really nice to actually get to know her properly and not just in cosplay. So obviously meeting at cons is the main things where we saw each other, and the Disney store. It was always really fun, and I'm already looking forward to seeing her again whenever we're able to, thanks to COVID. But anyway, got a bit sidetracked there, but that's a story that is really, really important to me, and like I said, she means quite a bit to me, and I do think it's one of the funniest stories that I have met someone, especially because we didn't realize who we were for that long. Over the course of the 2 years, I did get a lot of visits from friends and family. My best friend, my female best friend Susan, she came I have a really good friend in the UK called Susan, but I have a Swiss friend called Susan as well, so I probably should always mention which one I'm talking to, but my Swiss friend Susan anyways. She came over twice, actually. She came over once, I think, within the first half year or a year. I think half year, because I remember it was winter time. And the second one was towards the end that I lived there, but I'll get to that in a little bit. So that was really nice. I had my grandparents actually visiting from Switzerland once. They came over, I think, in like June or July, and that was really sweet because they stayed at the Maid's Head, and they're such a lovely people. They're the sweetest. Their English, my grandmother's English is a tiny bit better than my grandpa's, but they're both not really the best ones. And it was really sweet to just see them try and everything, and me being able to show them around and show them where I live and what I call home as well. And they were so excited. They loved it. Every time I talk to them on the phone, they will mention Norwich and how much they loved it and how much fun it was to visit me. They came over twice. Once was in June, July, and once was on my 21st birthday, where they actually surprise visited me, my god, together with my parents, which is a really cool thing as well. I had multiple friends come over throughout the time. It was always really funny because with the most people that came over more than once, pretty much every time I got them over or they came over, I lived in a different place. During those 2 years, I moved 3 times. So yeah, it was really fun. And at the second place that I lived, it was only one other roommate, whereas in the first one I lived with 3 other people, 1 girl and 2 guys, and it was a nice place, but it was fairly expensive, and the people there, they weren't really that clean, and it was always really messy and stuff. So I was glad that after the contract ended that I could get out. And after that, like I said, I lived with only 1 other girl, and it was, for part of it was really fun with her. Because we always got off work pretty much on the same time, so we usually spent the evening, well, after work we ate dinner together and just talked about our days. And I remember one day in particular, we had to leave our windows open for because of the landlord. And when I got back at, keep in mind, like 11 at night, it was rather cold in the apartment, and as soon as I turned on my light in my room, there was a fucking massive spider next to the window and next to my bed, which was across the room from where I stood at the entrance of my room. I shit my pants. I am really scared. Like, I got a really bad phobia, arachnophobia, that I've developed over the years, unfortunately. And at that point it was a really, really bad, like, I cannot approach spiders. Like, I freak out, I start sweating, I start like shaking. I kid you not, it's not a fun experience. I really want to get it treated at some point this year as well. But anyways, there I was at home. I knew that my roommate wasn't gonna finish for another, like, I think 15 or 20 minutes, so that meant like half an hour until she'd be at home. So what did I do? I turned off the lights because I did not want to attract the spider towards the light, aka towards me. So I turned off the light, but turned on the light in the living room, so there was still a little bit of light for me to see the spider, or more like the black dot in the dark. So I just sat in my room on the floor, looking at this spot for like 30 minutes straight, just being absolutely scared shitless, until my roommate came home. And Lord and behold, she was scared of spiders too. Not as bad as me, but it was such a struggle. We at first wanted to use the vacuum cleaner to just suck it in and call it a night. Okay, it did not work. We were absolutely scared after a few attempts because the spider didn't move. And we even thought about ordering food and then asking the delivery guy to get rid of it. We were really desperate, okay? We were thinking about all kinds of options to get rid of it, but after about, I think, an hour and a half, we've got enough courage to actually get rid of the spider. So that was really fun. Yeah, or not, but actually brings me to a small sidetrack, because people wanted animal facts, and I was thinking about, since I wanted to talk about that spider thing, talk about a spider fact, and I could not find a fun fact about spiders because they are just absolutely disgusting and terrifying creatures. So instead I have another fun fact, which is, did you know that a snail can sleep up to 3 years at a time? When I read that, I literally could not believe that. I wish I could do that at some point, especially now during COVID. I wish I could just go to sleep and just wake up in 3 years' time and just be like, is it over? Are things back to normal? Can I do shit again? I'd love that. I'd love to have like, or even just half a year, just a hibernation. Because I do not like winter time. I'm more of a summer and warm kind of person, so I'd love to just sleep throughout the winter. But anyway, so much to that. My god, that was like 45 minutes already of just talking about England, and I'm halfway there. Oh my god, I'm so sorry if you're still listening. But at the same time, thank you. So when I went to MCM, which I mentioned earlier, I went there twice during the time of living there. Both times I went there mainly with my friend Dario from Switzerland. He came over the first year, he came over with just one friend, and they stayed in a hotel room, whereas I rented an Airbnb for myself because I could not afford a hotel room next to the location because it was just way too expensive. So I just stayed in the Airbnb. It was a fun experience. Met some really cool people. I met some really cool new people, new friends. I met really cool actors as well. At the time, I think it was a few months before Infinity War came out, or just after, I don't remember. Yeah, no, I think it was a month before actually. Letitia Wright, aka Shuri from Black Panther, Infinity War, Endgame, she was there. And we just happened to realize that a panel was happening, so we went to the panel. We sat like maybe in the 10th or 15th row or something like that, but it was really cool because that was the first time I actually been to a panel with someone as big as her, and it was really funny because the microphone was literally 2 seats away from me. And when they opened questions, for some reason, I just jumped up and ran to the microphone, and there were microphones on both sides of the row because there were like 3 sections, and I was in the middle section, so I was really close to one of the microphones, and just so happened that I was the first one. Yeah, I was really freaking scared at that time because I did not think it through. I didn't know what I was gonna ask her. So then I remembered a tweet of someone saying that Shuri is the next Disney princess. So I was the first one that was able to ask her a question, and it was really funny because I was dressed as Harley Quinn at the time. She's like, "Oh, you look so cool, I love your cosplay. Who are you? Like, what character are you cosplaying?" So I told her, well, Harley Quinn from DC Comics, from the DC universe. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm really sorry, like I'm still getting to know all the Marvel characters, so I don't really know any DC characters, but you look so cool." And I got even more nervous at that point. So I asked her, I don't even remember her answer, to be fair, but I just asked her, like, how did you feel knowing that people are saying that you're basically the next Disney princess? And I think she was just really excited, and she's like, "Yeah, that's such a cool thing, blah blah blah." But anyways, that was really cool. And I just met really cool cosplayers. Like, damn, like in Switzerland there's a lot of absolutely phenomenal cosplayers as well, but back then I did not really know that much about it when I went to conventions, whereas when I went to the MCM convention, the amount of people there and the amount of cosplays and love they put into their cosplays, Jesus Christ, I was blown away. So that was really cool of an experience. I was there for 3 days on both occasions, because I went to the one in May 2018 and 2019. it was just fun because in 2019 I knew a lot more people, and it was even more of an awesome experience because I already knew a few people, and it was just looking forward to seeing old friends again. So that was a really cool thing as well. But I will definitely get back into MCM stories or convention stories on my future podcast when I talk about the cosplay and convention history in general. So I don't really want to get too much into that, but also got the chance to go to a few different events such as theaters. I went to a few actually, how many theaters did I go to? Only 2. Well, 2.5, I guess. I went to the one that I already mentioned, Aladdin. Jesus Christ. I went to see Betrayal, and I went to see, just before I moved away, it's not really a theater, it was a concert theater comedy show, everything together. John Barrowman, he did like a tour where he sang some songs, he told some life stories and stuff like that. So I don't know under what category that falls to, but that was fun. But going back to the Betrayal theater, that was such a cool thing because I heard about Tom Hiddleston doing a new theatre in London, and as soon as I heard of it, I knew how to get tickets. I did get tickets. I went by myself. I did a lot of things, like most of those things I did by myself. All concerts and all that kind of stuff I usually went by myself. I sometimes like just doing things by myself. Prefer it. Like, obviously it's cool to do things with other people so you can share the experience and talk about it, but at some point I just need to do stuff on my own. Yeah, so that was a really cool thing, because I think I went around April 2000, I think it was 19, and I remember having 2 weeks before I was supposed to go, I was having a really bad week at work. It was just stressful and really, really shitty. So I went online and I saw there were still tickets available for the next day performance. So for some reason, I decided to just buy another ticket for the show for the next day, because I think it was a Tuesday show. I was off on Tuesday. So I just booked that, got a coach, and went there early in the morning because it was an afternoon show. I was there and I already saw the amount of posts of people saying that they left before the show even ended to queue at the stage door to get a chance to meet Tom Hiddleston. So I knew that my chances were slim. So I had to evaluate, am I going to be the dickhead who walks out before or not? I decided on just literally going for it as soon as the lights went out and the show was done. They haven't bowed or anything, but the show itself was over, and I saw literally just one person at the time jumping up, I think a few rows ahead of me, and I was literally chasing, I was running. I did not think, and just so happens I was the 13th person in that queue. And I kid you not, within like the next 3 or 4 minutes, there were at least 20 or 30 people behind me queuing. And it was nuts. And the girl that I saw in front of, like running in front of me, actually managed to somehow end up in front of her, just literally ahead of her. And she stood behind me, so we got chatting, because she saw online as well that people were doing that, and the people in front of me, they did actually live within the first act, just to queue outside, because you had to have a valid ticket for that day to be able to queue. If you didn't have a ticket, you weren't allowed. So yeah, about half an hour or hour waiting, Tom Hiddleston actually came out together with Charlie Cox and Zoe Ashton. Those were like the 3 characters from that show. And I got so nervous. Like, even just realizing that not that many people were queuing in front of me, I was nervous because I felt like, oh my god, there is an actual chance of me meeting my idol, because Tom Hiddleston has been an idol of mine for quite some time now. And I got to meet him. I was scared. I was like, at that point, I've already met quite a few actors, which is really cool, and I'm really glad I had the chance to do so. But with him, I was starstruck. I was just absolutely starstruck. And I already had to have my camera ready, and the girl behind me was so lovely, and she took some extra pictures while I talked to him. And it was really funny because he took my phone to take the picture. Well, we said hi, he took the phone, and for some reason he managed to flip the camera, and he's like, I did something wrong, oh no, let's try this again. And he had to switch the camera back around again. So I got a few extra seconds with him, and it was just like looking into his eyes. I literally lost it. I think I cried afterwards. I'm pretty sure I did, at least. So that was really fun. And the funny thing is, the 2 weeks after, I went to see the show again on an evening show, and I was there in the late afternoon as well. I was just waiting by stage door because I was hoping maybe I'd see one of the actors come in. And I was just on the floor eating a sandwich, reading a book that I just bought because I had a few hours to spare. And all of a sudden, Charlie Cox just walked past me, and I did not realize it. And luckily there were 2 other people there at the stage door that grabbed him and talked to him until I realized what just happened. So I just got up, and he was so sweet. He actually took his time. He introduced himself. I was like, you don't need to, but he introduced himself. He asked my name. He asked where I was from, and we just chatted for, I think, 3 to 5 minutes. It was such a lovely conversation that I will not forget, and I really cherished that moment. It was a really lovely experience. So yeah, I got to do lots of cool things like that. In September, I moved again, and I had a lot of money to spare because I did not have to pay the owner of the house. I did not have to pay them any deposit, so I had a spare few hundred quids, and I still had 1 week of holidays, and I already went to Switzerland that year twice. So I thought to myself, I do not want to go back, but I do want to go away for a bit. I found a rather cheap offer of going to Disneyland Paris, and that's what I did. I just grabbed my things and went to Disney for a week. I took a coach to London, and then the train to Paris, and then to Disneyland, to the resort. I stayed at a Disney bed and breakfast for 4 days. Well, it was Monday to Friday, and I was at the park for 3 days. And it was the coolest thing that I ever did by myself. I was really scared and nervous because I've never done something quite like that. I've been to Germany for a weekend trip by myself, but never did something that far away and that long. So that was a really, really cool experience, and just made me feel really confident, and made me realize how independent I can be and how independent I've become over the time. Because obviously, since I didn't really know anyone when I moved there, I had to get a life, sort everything out, and be an adult, basically, from living with your parents where you get everything to having to sort out your whole life. It was a really big step. But that trip to Disney just proved to myself that I can be like that. I can be grown up, I can be independent, and I was really proud, and I still am, that I actually did that, and I still want to do something like that again sometime in the future. One other cool thing that I also did just before I moved back was the whole of June was quite eventful anyways, because I got to see John Barrowman, like I said. I got to do my proficiency exam on the 13th of June, so that was a really intense day in Cambridge. After that, I got around to explore Cambridge as well, because I did not know the town at all, only by driving by. On the beginning of June, I actually went to see Hugh Jackman in London at the O2. He did a concert tour where it was kind of it was a concert. He sang a lot. He had some people over. He had, I don't know the actress's name, but from The Greatest Showman, the bearded lady, she was there and sang. He talked about his life, some of the stuff he's been through and experienced, so that was really cool. I went to the Avengers Station, I think it's called, in London as well. That was a really, really cool thing as well. Got to read about all of the Avengers and to, like, you're basically recruited to in the end be an agent of Shield. So that was a really cool thing as well. So yeah, I looking back to those 2 years in Norwich, there's so much cool stuff that I did, from the cosplay experience, photo shoots, holidays, people I met. It was overall just a really, really, really cool thing. My 21st birthday was a really big thing as well, because I had a really big party planned. Well, it was a really big party. I rented a booth, or 2 booths in the end, at my favorite pub, which was Revolution de Cuba in Norwich. I love that because they have the best tapas in Norwich. So that was really fun. Like I said, my family came over to visit. I got more than wasted that day. My friends had to help me home and stuff. It was quite eventful, let's put it that way. And just before my birthday, I think the day before, I had like a pre-Christmas dinner with my family, because obviously by Christmas I was alone again. That was the first time that we talked about what I want and what we want in the future, because my parents had their 10th anniversary last year, their wedding anniversary, and my grandparents from Central America had their 50th. So it was a big thing. So we knew that we wanted to celebrate and probably go over. And the first plan was to go over last year in like July, August, when the celebration would have happened. But then we realized, because of like school vacations, it would be more expensive, yada, yada, yada. And it would basically be winter time over there, so it would be raining all the time. So we decided on going in February. So I had to make the big decision. I knew we wanted to go for a month. We didn't know what we were gonna do, but we knew roughly a month. And I, at this moment, had to realize and to evaluate that it was gonna be really hard to saving up the money that I needed for that trip in the UK, and with that wage that I had at the time. So pretty much in like January of 2019, I realized that I did not really have another choice, unless I didn't want to go on that trip, but I really wanted to. And the plan was that my best friend Susan, Swiss Susan, was gonna come with. So it was really tough on me, because like I said before, Norwich and England in general was a home to me. I felt home there. But I just knew that I think at that time my journey would have to slowly come to an end. I mean, I overstayed it anyway, because I intended to stay for a year, and it turned into, at that time, 1.5 years already. So by, I think, March, I fully knew I was gonna go in June. I did not know if I was gonna go in the beginning or end of June, but roughly June. Because, oh yeah, I remember, because my parents were supposed to go on a bike tour somewhere in July. So the plan was that I'd come over, look after the dog, our new dog, because, yeah, other story, in October 2018, I got a call one day at work from my dad that they had to put down our dog, my childhood dog, pretty much. Sounds stupid, but he was kind of like a brother. He was my ears when I was growing up. He was such a sweet dog. I loved him. He was so dear to me. So it hit me quite hard that I wasn't there when he died. He was only, well, for his kind, he is rather old. He was 8 years old, but still hit me quite hard. And only 2 months later, they got a new rescue dog. His name is Vito. He's a British bulldog. He's the funniest dog. But yeah, that was anyway. That was the plan. Well, sidetracked it there again. That was the plan, that I just moved back to then look after the dog. I think it was for like 2 weeks or something like that. So I told my head chef at the time that I was gonna leave probably in the middle of June. And then I looked at the English exam and I saw that they pretty much only had the slot available for the I think it was 13th of June, somewhere in beginning of June, beginning of middle of June. And I told him really early on that what the situation was, that I was going to go see Hugh Jackman and that I needed a day off for that and for my English exam. And he unfortunately could not promise me that I could have both days off. So I then decided to just take the whole month of June off, because I already had my flight booked for the 29th of June, and I had enough money on the side to just make it through a month. And since I already, I'd get paid by the beginning of June, I'd have still my whole salary to get me through the whole month. So that wasn't really that big of an issue. So yeah, I decided to just take the whole month of June to celebrate, to pack and everything. And like I mentioned earlier on, my best friend came over to help me pack and help me move back. So she came the last week of June. We spent really a good time together. We had, I think, 2 or 3 leaving parties for me as well. It was really intense, the whole month of June. It was an emotional month because I was overthinking everything, like if I was doing the right thing. Yeah, it was something. So yeah, when the day came, so the leaving parties were a really cool thing because a lot of people actually showed up, and I got some really lovely gifts as well from people. Like I said, like my good friend Susan from the UK Susan, she drew me this lovely drawing of me in the kitchen with a few of the other chefs, and everyone signed it, and I really hold that one dear. It's a really lovely thing. I got that on my shelf. I'm literally looking at it right now. I also got a really lovely Alice in Wonderland drawing from her as well. She's super talented. I also got, looking at it, a Oscar, because at one of the staff parties, the theme was to dress up as a movie character. Me in cosplay, obviously, I had the slight advantage, and I dressed up as Belle in my ball gown and won, which is a really, really cool thing. It was such a fun evening. But anyways, the leaving party was really emotional. I had to hold back a lot of tears. Don't remember if I actually did cry, but there definitely were. There were a lot of emotions there. A lot of people that I still miss really, really dearly. And yeah, we moved back, my best friend and I. We went straight from Norwich airport to Amsterdam, and then Amsterdam to Zurich. And the journey back, unfortunately, was quite troublesome, because our flight in Norwich was delayed by over an hour. I think by the end that we took off, it was like 1.5 hours delayed. So thanks to that, by the time we landed in Amsterdam, we had 10 minutes to get to our next flight. Obviously, we missed it. We tried to run, but we missed it by a long shot. And then we had to wait, I think, 1 or 2 hours for the next flight to depart. I remember, as a sorry and as a thank you for our patience, we got like a €5 or whatever discount for the shop next door, which is really funny. But anyways, after that, we arrived in Switzerland finally, after a long and draining journey. And to top things off, we had a lot of luggage. I had 2 big luggages for myself. My best friend came with 1 big luggage, so she had an extra big luggage from me, and we both had 2 hand carrier luggages, both filled with my stuff. So it was mainly, except for 1 luggage, it was all my stuff. And Lord and behold, we only received 1 luggage. We waited there at the thing on the airport where you get the luggages for about an hour, and we just got 1 luggage. And the shitty thing was, my friend was supposed to go on holiday with her other friend to Greece, I think 2 or 3 days later, and it was really inconvenient because all her stuff was missing. And then we had to queue customer service, and there were already like, I think about 15 to 20 people queuing. And after about waiting, I kid you not, an hour, there were still like 50 people behind us queuing because no one got their luggage. And it was just really, really frustrating because my parents organized some friends to help us get every luggage and everything, including us, back to home. So I had to call them and tell them, well, you can send your friends home because we only got one luggage and it's just my friend and me just waiting at customer service. So we had to register the luggages, the value, and all kinds of stuff. It was so annoying and it took us forever. But yeah, it was not a fun time. We were both just absolutely floored after that. Yeah, but that pretty much brings the journey to an end. Saw my parents again. It was really lovely to see them again because at that time I haven't seen them for for over half a year. For some of my family I haven't seen for over a year. So it was really nice to be reunited with them. But at the same time I felt really sad. I think the first week and the second week I felt like crap. I regretted every life decision. I did not enjoy being back in Switzerland. Like, it was lovely to see all my friends regularly again and being close to them again, but at the same time, since I met so many great people in the UK, it just meant being far away from them. That was not fun. I was home a lot. Couldn't be asked to find a job right from the start. And there's always this, what you call it, like a festival, I guess, carnival, big thing that they do in Zurich every 3 years. They got a fun fair. They got a lot of cool things like concerts and parades and all kinds of stuff, fireworks. And I got a promoter job. I was promoting like chargeable battery for your phone, and I was carrying around, or basically I was a giant battery, so I had a giant battery on my back connected to cables where people could walk with me and charge their phone. So that was a really cool thing being back in Switzerland, and that was the first job, I guess, that I had when I came back. And after that I really had to get back into finding a job, reapplying and stuff. Once I did, I had 2 interviews within 2 days. One of them was at our local zoo, and one was at a chocolate factory, I guess. It's a really popular store here in Switzerland. They're a big chain. Really expensive, really good. I really loved the zoo. Like, the impression I got there from the 2 people that I had to interview with, they told me so many cool things. It was to be a pastry chef again. The other one would have been confectionery. And I knew that I kind of wanted to stay in pastry if possible. And the zoo was able to provide me with all of it. You had the events, you had so you still had functions where you did the plated desserts. You had pralines and cakes, so you pretty much made everything, whereas the other one would have mainly just been chocolate based. So luckily, within the same week, actually, I was able to go and work there at the zoo for a day and see what it's about. And another week passed and I actually got the job and started about 2 or 3 weeks later. I've been at the zoo for 1.5 years almost, because I think I started sometime in August or September. I honestly cannot remember, not gonna lie. But yeah, that's been it for that part. I've been wanting to go back to the UK on 3 occasions now. I wanted to go back last year for MCM in May with Dario, but obviously thanks to COVID that wasn't possible. We were super lucky that we actually got to do our trip that I told you about in February with my parents and my best friend. So we ended up going to Central America, to El Salvador for 2 weeks. 1 week to Belize to snorkel for a week, which was really awesome because I got to fulfill one of my bucket list dreams, to snorkel in a reef and with nurse sharks. Some of the sharks were even bigger than me, which was terrifying, but the coolest feeling in the world. That was lifelong dream for me to do. And the last week we went to Orlando to go to Disney and Universal. I went to Disney World one day by myself as well, so I was there 3 days, and the rest of my family and friend were there only for 2 days, and it was such a cool time as well. And the funny thing was, like, being over there, we did not have any issues. Like, the only thing we noticed with Corona was that they took your temperature at the airports, but that was it. And when we tried to buy masks for a friend in Switzerland, there weren't any to buy, but you didn't have to wear masks. It was all normal. It was crazy. And as soon as we came back, by the end of February, I think we came back on the 1st or 2nd of March, on the 12th of March is when they decided to shut everything down and go into lockdown. So yeah, that was absolutely bonkers to just be away for a month, not feeling anything off of Corona. And then we had that almost 2-month lockdown. And now looking back at it, it's been over a year now and we're still in lockdown. Like, luckily I've been able to start working again because they kind of, they reopened some of the places again. Thank fuck for that. Sorry, my language. Yeah, that's been my journey so far. I really, really hope, if everything calms down and if it's possible, I really want to go to the UK in October and see some of my friends again. Go back to Norwich for a few days in London, because I do miss it a lot. Honestly, I can't put into words how much I miss it, how much I miss my friends over there. I really hope, I already got plans with 1 or 2 of them that to do a podcast in the future, so I'm really looking forward to that as well. Yeah, I really hope to be able to see them again, because I really hold them dear to my heart, and it's been really hard only being able to be in touch through mainly Instagram. But yeah, hopefully things go well this year. I'll try to be optimistic, as everyone should be, and we'll see what happens. This podcast has gone on for quite some time now, considering my first one was 20 minutes. I also gave it a thought since last week what I want to end each episode with. And since I said I also want to raise awareness and talk about and be open about mental health and stuff, I always want to kind of end up with something positive I hear, encounter, or anything. And I just came across this really, really cool 2 quotes, one that I've loved for years anyway, which is, all your dreams can come true if you have the courage to pursue them. It's a quote by Walt Disney. For me, a lot of dreams that I did have actually come true. It's really hard sometimes to dream, especially during those times that we're in, and to have the courage to wanting to pursue them and to think you can do it. But in my experience, if you just try and keep being positive, things will go your way sooner or later. Most of the time it'll happen when you least expect it, so do keep that in mind. And the second one being, life becomes more meaningful when you realize the simple fact that you'll never get the same moment twice. That really hits deep, not gonna lie. I really wasted a lot of time during my lockdown just being a sad piece of crap. I lost my routine, my daily routine. I did not see a point getting up in the morning. It's hard if you just all of a sudden do not have a rhythm anymore and you forget you don't have a sleep pattern or anything. But now, being back to work and just realizing what I actually have in my life and how much stuff I have that I can be proud of and that I can be appreciative of, and the people I've got around me, I'm a lot more aware of the time that I have, and when I do something for my soul, or something that I've wanted to do, or even if it's just cleaning my apartment, even the smallest thing, I feel proud about it. I feel happy about the small accomplishments, and I think that is a really, really big part as well. If you are feeling down at some point, just try and be appreciative of the smallest thing and be proud of it. Like, some days I have to be proud of every step that I take. I get out of bed and I make my bed. I'm proud of that. I take a shower, brush my teeth in the morning. I am proud of that. And small stuff like that is the things that are gonna keep you going later on. And I actually got that told as well a few times, that I should just do like a small to-do list, basically, even if it's just the smallest thing, like I just said, like making your bed or cooking some healthy food. That'll feel like something so big, and you can be proud of that. And after that, it's gonna come back to what I just said of the moments being more meaningful, because after that you start being appreciative of what you have and the life that you actually have, and it'll make you feel a lot better, believe me. So I'm gonna leave it to that. If you stuck out, thank you so much. I did not expect this episode to be that long. Honestly, thank you. And I will talk to you very soon. You take care, and I appreciate you. Bye-bye.